Did you see the latest UConn game against Notre Dame? It was UConn's first loss of the season, and Geno Auriemma isn't taking it well. He's furious, especially since fans have been calling his team and his star, Paige Bueckers, overrated. Let's rewind a bit. Geno Auriemma recently became the winningest coach in college basketball history. However, his last championship win was in 2016.
Pressure off for Paige. Sometimes she's her worst enemy. She over-penetrates to try to get something in traffic and get to the free throw line and blah, blah, blah. If you're going to play her the way they played her, which I think is what she's going to see a lot of.
More recently, he's been making headlines for criticizing Caitlin Clark, while his current star player, Paige Bueckers, has been underperforming. Something doesn't add up. Are we witnessing the fall of a basketball legend? Is he setting Paige up for failure? And is Auriemma's criticism of generational talents like Clark just sour grapes? Stick around as we unpack the decline of college basketball's most decorated coach.
Like I said earlier, they actually had odds that, she was like third or fourth in the betting odds to be MVP of the WNBA. That's such a slap in the face to every WNBA player. It's unbelievable, right?
Picture this. It's 2016. Geno Auriemma is on top of the world, having just led UConn to their fourth straight national championship with star player Breanna Stewart. His team is unstoppable, and his legacy is unquestionable.
He will likely always have, as long as he's coaching, the greatest talent that is in women's basketball. And we've seen Stewie come out of there, we've seen Nafisa, the list goes on and on, Maya Moore, the list of UConn stars are endless. He will always get that talent.
Fast forward to today, and the landscape looks very different. For decades, Auriemma was the king of women's college basketball. His UConn Huskies were a dynasty like no other, with 11 national titles, countless conference championships, and a parade of All-Americans and future WNBA stars. Auriemma's name was synonymous with success.
We need other contributions, and Paige is going to try to carry the team by herself when she thinks there aren't a lot of those contributions. And that's not good for her, and that's not good for us.
But here's where things get interesting. Since that 2016 championship, UConn hasn't cut down the nets, not even once. 7 years without a title might not sound like much for most programs, but for UConn, it's practically a drought.
Geno Auriemma, Caitlin Clark again. The world turns. It's Caitlin Clark's world. We just live on planet Caitlin.
So, what happened? Has Auriemma lost his touch? It's starting to look that way. His once innovative coaching style now seems stuck in the past. While other programs are evolving, embracing new offensive schemes and defensive strategies, UConn looks, well, old school. And the results speak for themselves.
Paige Bueckers has been front and center in the women's basketball media landscape. There is so much hype around her, and a lot of people have a microscope on her and the UConn Huskies. A lot of people are expecting Paige to win her first national title this year with UConn before she does declare for the WNBA.
UConn's recent performances have been shocking, to say the least. Remember that loss to Notre Dame? A lower-ranked team managed to take down the mighty Huskies, who supposedly boast the best college player in the nation. And it wasn't just a fluke. UConn has been stumbling more and more, looking vulnerable in games they used to dominate.
With Paige Bueckers and the UConn Huskies front and center this season in women's basketball, some fans are starting to question Geno Auriemma's coaching style and wondering if it's truly what's best for Paige.
You have to wonder, is this the beginning of the end for Auriemma's dynasty? The cracks are starting to show. Players who once flocked to UConn are now choosing other programs. The aura of invincibility is fading.
Paige is having a good season so far. I don't think it's her greatest performance or her greatest season so far, and she's struggled in a couple of these games.
But here's the twist. In the midst of all this uncertainty, Auriemma just achieved something remarkable. He became the winningest coach in college basketball history. It's an incredible milestone that cements his place in the record books. Yet it feels bittersweet. While Auriemma's career win total keeps climbing, they're no longer the dominant force they once were. They're no longer the dominant force they once were. They're not striking fear into opponents like they used to.
So Gino Auriemma surprisingly for lack of a better way of describing it, called out Paige Bueckers. And yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, kind of doing it almost out of the blue in a halftime team talk. And you would have thought maybe it's something to kind of spur her on. It did not do that.
So we're left with a paradox. A coach reaching the pinnacle of individual achievement while his program shows signs of decline. It's a fascinating moment in basketball history, watching a legend grapple with a changing landscape. But
he basically said, well, Paige just likes to stand around. She's not really aggressive and she's not going to go after the ball. So that's just what Paige likes to do. He kind of threw her under the bus. And a lot of fans are starting to notice that Gino says a lot of things to the media about his team, about his players, that are starting to rub certain people the wrong way.
There's more to this story than just wins and losses. To truly understand what's happening with UConn and Auriemma, we need to look closer at the players, specifically one player who is supposed to be the next big thing. What happens when a talented player meets an outdated system?
If Gino's coaching style is affecting Paige Bueckers and the trajectory of her career and has maybe halted her a little bit in becoming the best player that she can possibly become.
Paige Bueckers arrived at UConn with sky-high expectations, but her recent performances have left fans scratching their heads. Is it possible that the very program that made her a star is now holding her back?
It's not only his players that need to perform well to get this championship. I think that he might need to change his tune a little bit and adapt a little bit to the new age style of women's basketball.
Let's rewind to 2020. Paige Bueckers was the talk of women's basketball. She shone bright on high school courts, averaging nearly 23 points per game and leading her team to a state championship in Minnesota. The hype was real. Bueckers even snagged the Naismith High School Player of the Year award. Everyone knew she was destined for greatness. And at first it looked like Bueckers was living up to all that promise. Her freshman year at UConn? Absolutely electric. She put up 20 points, nearly 6 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. Bueckers wasn't just good, she was phenomenal. Carrying the team to deep college tournament appearances, it seemed like UConn had found their next superstar in Paige Bueckers. But then, something changed. This year, Bueckers' stats have taken a noticeable dive. Sure, she's still scoring, averaging 18.9 points per game this season, but something feels off, especially in big games.
That's the worst part about new fans. You know, they have no perspective. There's no context. So they just say ridiculous nonsense.
Holy Cross game. Bueckers, the player who was supposed to dominate, managed just 11 points. Against Louisville, things were even worse. Only 8 points. For a player of her caliber, these performances are raising serious red flags. So what's going on? Basketball analysts have some theories. A major concern is Bueckers' apparent lack of aggression on the court. She's playing passively, deferring to teammates instead of taking control. It's like she's lost that instinct that once made her so special.
That Caitlin had that ignited a tremendous amount of attention, an incredible phenomenon that very rarely happens, and it certainly changed the landscape, no question.
A major concern is Bueckers' apparent lack of aggression on the court. She's playing passively, deferring to teammates instead of taking control. It's like she's lost that instinct that once made her so special. But here's where it gets interesting. Is this entirely on Bueckers, or is there something else at play? Some are beginning to wonder if Auriemma's system might be part of the problem. His old-school approach worked wonders for decades, but the game has evolved. Could his rigid style actually be stifling Bueckers' natural talents?
It's funny to listen to the fever management moan about physical fouls whenever, anytime I moan about the game being too physical. There's always somebody on that staff saying that I'm so what goes around comes around.
Auriemma himself has hinted at Bueckers' untapped potential. He's mentioned practice sessions where she shoots 75% from the floor and up to 60% from three-point range. Those are jaw-dropping numbers. So why aren't we seeing that same efficiency in games? It's starting to look like Bueckers might be a square peg trying to fit into Auriemma's round hole. Her pass-first mentality and efficiency-focused game don't quite align with the aggressive, dominant style that built UConn's dynasty. And while Bueckers is still leading the team in scoring, that spark, the ability to take over a game at will, seems to be missing. The Paige Bueckers puzzle is far from solved. But as we watch her struggle to reach her full potential, it's hard not to wonder if UConn's system is part of the problem. Are we witnessing a clash between old-school coaching and new-school talent? While Bueckers and UConn work to figure things out, another story is unfolding. Across the country, a young star is showing exactly what can happen when talent meets the right system.
Caitlin brought so much new attention to the rise in women's college basketball and the WNBA and women's sports in general. I feel like the weight of the world is on her shoulders, and she just has this heavy burden to carry, and she does it with grace and humility.
If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. Now back to the action. While one star struggles, another shines brighter than ever. We ache to be liked. Remember when Geno Auriemma said Caitlin Clark's game wouldn't translate to the WNBA? Well, he's probably wishing he could take those words back right about now. Oh wait, he just did. On live TV, before Caitlin Clark even stepped foot on a WNBA court, Auriemma was quick to dismiss her potential impact. He claimed her style of play wouldn't work at the pro level, and even went as far as to say her fans were delusional about her prospects. Talk about a cold take.
Wants to know, if Caitlin Clark played for Geno, would he let her shoot logo threes?
Should I answer that?
Go ahead.
Hell no.
Okay.
Like, he didn't even let us dribble. Like, not the high pass. We were playing triangle, pass, screen away, pinch post.
I bet we came off five pick and rolls our whole career.
Fast forward to Clark's debut season, and it's clear who the delusional one was. Clark didn't just adapt to the WNBA, she dominated it. Let's break down her insane rookie campaign. She averaged 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. That's not just impressive for a rookie, that's elite for any player in the league.
I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I feel like there's just so many areas that I want to improve in and to continue to get in the gym and work on that every single day.
Clark wasn't done there. She shattered records left and right, 62 of them to be exact. She dished out 337 assists, setting a new single-season WNBA record as a rookie. She also knocked down 122 three-pointers, another rookie record. And just for good measure, she became the first rookie in WNBA history to record not one, but 2 triple-doubles. It wasn't just fans taking notice either. Clark's peers in the WNBA were quick to sing her praises. Even Paige Bueckers herself had to give credit where it was due, saying, "So, how wrong could one legendary coach be? Turns out, pretty darn wrong."
However, times are much different than they were when Geno started coaching. One, I don't think it's the greatest look for him to continue to say some of these things in the media, especially with the kind of spotlight that is on Paige right now. And I do think that some of the spotlight that's on her and some of the pressure that a lot of media people have put on her is unwarranted. I don't think it's fair. She's a great player, but I think all of the comparisons and things that we've heard and people trying to make her Caitlin Clark when she's not.
Clark's rookie season wasn't just impressive, it was historic. She finished 4th in the MVP race, made the All-WNBA first team, and of course, took home Rookie of the Year honors. Not bad for a player whose game supposedly wouldn't translate, huh?
Bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away.
Clark's success does more than just prove Auriemma wrong, it exposes a fundamental flaw in his thinking. The women's game has evolved, and Clark represents the new wave of talent reshaping basketball. Her ability to score from anywhere, her court vision, and her flair for the dramatic are the skills driving the sport forward. But here
doesn't necessarily seem to be pushing the right buttons with Paige. Again, we don't know what's going on in the locker room, and they might have a great relationship. However, Paige is in the UConn system that has been set in place since the 90s. There is a certain system of UConn basketball, and the players that come into that fit into that system, and you have to have a certain mindset, a certain skill set, a certain whatever. It is a well-oiled machine, and it has worked.
Here's the thing. Clark's story is just beginning. As impressive as her rookie season was, it feels like she's only scratched the surface of her potential. That should have the rest of the league shaking in their sneakers. As Clark dazzles fans and confounds critics, a once unshakable basketball dynasty finds itself on unfamiliar ground. What happens when the innovators of yesterday become the roadblocks of today?
Until recently, they are starting their teams. Iowa beat them in the Final Four last season. South Carolina has been on a tear. We have LSU. Tennessee is back in the mix. We have Notre Dame coming up. We have TCU. We have Duke. I'm going to call the two teams that Ariana and Aaliyah are on. There are these great programs who are taking a new age style of basketball when it comes to coaching, when it comes to system, and when it comes to how you're letting your players play, that maybe Gino does need to adapt a little.
Gino Auriemma built UConn into a powerhouse. For years, his program was the gold standard in women's college basketball. But as the game evolves, is Auriemma's old school approach holding the sport back? Learn from Gino. Let's look at the facts. Women's basketball is changing fast. Players like Caitlin Clark aren't just breaking records, they're reshaping how the game is played. Clark's long-range shooting and flashy passes have fans glued to their screens. And she's not alone. A new generation of players is pushing the boundaries of what's possible on the court. Guess what?
You will always get that talent, but how he coaches that talent, how he, empowers that talent, how he finds the right buttons. Sometimes being so tough on a player, sometimes throwing them under the bus, sometimes doing all these things doesn't press the right buttons that you're hoping that it would.
Fans are loving it. The WNBA is seeing record attendance and viewership, and Clark's rookie season with the Indiana Fever was a big part of that. She's not just attracting hardcore basketball fans, she's bringing in new viewers who might never have watched a game before. This surge in popularity isn't just happening at the pro level. Women's college basketball is booming, and it's no longer just the traditional powerhouses drawing attention. Teams from smaller schools are making waves, playing an exciting brand of basketball that's catching everyone's attention. So, where does that leave coaches like Auriemma? The smart ones are adapting. They're embracing a more dynamic, fast-pacing style of play and letting their players showcase their skills instead of forcing them into rigid systems. It's all about flexibility and player-centric coaching now. Auriemma, however, doesn't necessarily seem to be pushing the right buttons with Paige Bueckers. We don't know what's going on in the locker room. They might have a great relationship. However, the UConn system, in place since the 90s, demands that players fit into its mold. It's a well-oiled machine, and for years it worked. But times are changing, and Auriemma's structured approach now looks outdated. While other teams are spacing the floor and launching threes, UConn often seems like it's playing a different game. Programs like Iowa, South Carolina, LSU, and Tennessee have embraced a new age style of basketball. Notre Dame, Duke, and TCU are also making strides with innovative coaching systems that empower players and let them play to their strengths. The big question is, can Auriemma evolve? Can he adapt his coaching style to fit this new era of women's basketball? Or is his reign at the top coming to an end? Here's the bottom line. The game is changing, and coaches need to change with it. Innovation isn't just a luxury, it's essential. The most successful programs will be the ones that blend fundamentals with the flair and excitement of modern basketball. As women's basketball enters this exciting new era, Auriemma's future success hinges on his ability to adapt. He'll always attract top talent, but how he coaches and empowers that talent is the real challenge. Being tough on players or publicly criticizing them might not press the right buttons anymore. The next generation of stars is here, playing a whole new ball game. Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise is just the beginning. With the 2025 WNBA draft on the horizon, all eyes are on players like Paige Bueckers. Will she find her groove and live up to the hype? The big question now is, can the old guard keep up? Only time will tell if Auriemma can embrace the new style of play that's captivating fans and driving the sport forward. If not, he risks being left behind. One thing is certain, women's basketball is entering an exciting new era. Whether you're a coach, player, or fan, you better be ready for the ride.